Me dio calor.
Sabrosura pa' ti que qué.
Hola, hola. Welcome back to Café con Pam, the bilingual podcast that celebrates the power of our stories, the medicine in our voices, and the magic of reclaiming who we are. This week, I sat down with someone whose work completely changed how I think about documentary filmmaking, visibility, and what it means to witness with dignity. Her name is Isabelle Armand. Isabelle is a New York based documentary photographer and filmmaker whose work focuses on people whose stories, lives, and potential have been systematically undervalued. Isabelle spent 5 years documenting two wrongfully convicted men for her acclaimed book, Levon and Kennedy, Mississippi Innocence Project. And then she did it again. She spent another 5 years in Glendora, Mississippi, a tiny town of 151 people in the heart of the Delta, creating both a feature documentary and a photography book about this vibrant Black community whose story is deeply tied to the murder of Emmett Till. What really touched me about the work of Isabel is that besides just documenting, she also collaborates. She stays. She builds relationships. She lets the people she's filming tell their own stories through her lens. And her new film, Glendora, which just premiered at Dances with Films in New York, is a result of the 5 year commitment of seeing people in their full complexity and not just reducing them to their trauma or circumstances. In este episodio, you're going to learn what it actually means to collaborate with a community instead of just documenting them. We're also going to explore how spending 5 years witnessing people's lives transforms you as the witness. And we're going to dive into what it takes to separate people from their circumstances so you can honor both their struggles and their cultural wealth without one overshadowing the other. So, if you've ever wondered how to be seen without being reduced to your story, if you've ever questioned who gets to tell which stories and on whose terms, or felt the tension of visibility when it's tied to trauma, este episodio es para ti. Sin más, aquí está mi conversación con documentary filmmaker and photographer Isabelle Armand. Hi, Isabelle. Nice to meet you.
Very nice meeting you too.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions prepared. So
Uh-oh.
I know, but I know we have limited time. So let me organize myself. So we're going to talk about Glendora, and it was a film that I had to take a break and then come back to it because there was a lot of thought that I had to kind of like process. It's very deep. And so thinking about you spending 5 years in close collaboration with the people there, what called you there? Let's start there.
What called me there was a first project in Mississippi around wrongful convictions in another area, but also very rural, that also lasted 5 years. And that gave me a glimpse of the wealth of this culture. And it inspired me to dig in a little further.
Mm.
And I found Glendora because it was a small community. It was also very insulated because it's in the Delta, very agricultural, very rural, and it's insulated in more than one way. And to me, that amplifies some structural issues that people deal with there. So that's how I ended up in Glendora in 2018 for the first time. So it's been a really long process. And walking in, I met wonderful people, hit it off with quite a few, and I just immediately loved the place and the vibe because of the community.
Yeah. What changed within you after 5 years? Because you witnessed weddings and anniversaries and people passed.
Everything, it's these are transformative projects for oneself. And I
Mm.
think I'm not even through with that yet. And the first project was also transformative in many ways, and it brought me to Glendora taught me so many things. It's a learning process for me. It's a life lesson because you learn how people deal with things, what is their philosophy of life, how they cope. Because the first project about wrongful conviction, it's a hard one. You're on death row and you didn't do it. Uh,
Mhm.
and thankfully, you're exonerated. How does one deal with that? How does one respond to the circumstances around you that you absolutely cannot control as an individual and even as a community? So for me, when I'm there, I'm learning every day and I'm learning about the people. And it's very transformative in the sense that, well, I adopt some of those um, things, some of those reflections, they go by that I learn. Like, don't dwell, for instance.
Yeah.
And for me, that's something that I really needed to learn. I wasn't that kind of person. And also emotionally in many, many different ways because you really get close to many people. I have many friends now, some of them very close, that you don't see necessarily in the film. And so it's hundreds of people that inhabitate your soul. It's incredibly enriching.
Mm,
It's hard to deconstruct, everything.
totally. And one thing that you've said is that Glendora is the result of close collaboration between filmmaker and townspeople. And I find interesting the word choice of collaboration instead of using documentation. So, as you talk about spending all this time with these people and them like building, I mean, it was 5 years, so I'm sure you built relationships with them. Then, how did you find that fine line between sharing their story and sharing the story that you wanted to tell through your lens?
I think, again, because of that first project, I kind of had the right questions, I think, for myself and a goal. And
Mm,
so my goal was to really to feature the people and feature the talents and feature the stories disappearing. So it could only be that type of collaboration. And that's what I would tell them at the beginning. I'm not there. Yes, obviously it's a place that have many issues, and that's why I'm there too. But I am there for them so they can speak for themselves, be seen as they want to be seen. And that's how it came about that I really wanted it to be a collaboration
mm,
and through their eyes. And if you stay long enough, you do see everything through their eyes because they are correct. It's their lives. They know better.
totally. You as a photographer,
Right.
how was it transitioning into movement, knowing that I have a background in photography? So, like, how did your photography background influence the way you see light and the way that you maybe choose your scenes, knowing that there's movement involved, which is very different from capturing a moment?
That is true. It's very different at the same time. I think it's a natural sidestep for photographers, especially if you document communities and you there are experiences you cannot share with stills.
Mm,
So I did want people to hear the voices, the sound, the music, and share in the experience. So I've really been wanting to film for a while, and obviously being a photographer totally dictated my sense of aesthetic too. And the aesthetic is not just so it looks good; it's so I can inject,
mm,
other layers or clues or information about the people, about the place. So for me, I must say, I absolutely love filming because the photographs, it's true that they are worth 1,000 words. You can express so much, and it's usually not necessarily in the details that you see in the photograph. It's about something
mm,
else you feel that you don't see, but it's there. At the same time, there are things that you cannot show in a still. So for me, I did photograph a book in black and white in analog
mm-hmm,
to of Glendora. So for me, it was very important to have both and to go to filming. also to bring whoever is going to watch this film right into Glendora if I could. So they would be me in a way, sitting, listening to the people, but also being right there and sharing the experiences of the events that you see in the film.
Yeah. And now the other thing that I found fascinating and I was like, whoa, is that you did this by yourself. There was
Right.
no huge crew. And so, how was it for you to navigate every aspect?
So first of all, I think a long time before I commit to a project because it's going to be about people's lives. So once you commit,
Yeah.
I owe them. So I was ready for the work, but you have to be ready. It was an
Yeah.
enormous amount of work. It was wonderful. So you learn, you multitask quite a bit because you're there. At the same time, you figure out light framing, sound, people are going by talking, and
Yeah.
it's fine with me. I do the work. I don't mind doing the work. I loved it. It was just wonderful. Now, by the sixth year, you start giving out. And the first 2 years, I was using my C-stand and the booms and everything. After 2 years, I just went with lavs and shotgun because by itself, it is, a little bit much. But so I knew what it would entail. I have no problem with that. You're also constantly fed by the relationships, by the atmosphere. You also sit around a lot. So, you can keep going for quite a bit and do it all by yourself. You just keep track of a lot of things. Many decisions are, uh, you know, deliberate, and many others are very intuitive. You just go with the flow.
Yeah. And with that, did you make like changes, maybe something that you thought about before, and then you were like, you know what, this is not going to work. Let's just improvise?
Um, Not really, because I think my position was I had a conductive thread, which I know was correct, which was that there would be many stories, many talents
Mm. Mm.
that we can experience with the film. So the shift, you just follow. You just follow what's going on. It becomes, a part of what you do. You're not really standing back looking in. I have zero distance. So
Hmm.
so you're there to learn. You know there are going to be those shifts. I didn't have a narrative stuck in my mind, so I just went with it. Some of the things are more uh, about, sometimes you talk to one person on an interview, and you're hoping that you will be able to follow this person, and sometimes that doesn't happen because they are busy, they're still your friend, you still do a lot of things with them, but it doesn't happen again. So you have to say, well, you know, unfortunately, I won't be able to develop a story with this one person, but there are others that step in, and those people are still in there, so
Mm.
it's okay.
I think I saw it at the in the credits, or maybe I read it somewhere else that there were people that didn't
Uh,
fully make it, their story, but they were still part of it.
exactly. And also, there are many people that contributed in different ways for me.
Hmm.
So they are not necessarily on camera. I did put them there because I love them, but you don't hear them speak, you don't know who they are. But they were instrumental into my being able to do that because, for instance, Doylin Hill, who is my best girlfriend there, I could squat her house all day long, or be at the store all day long with her. So you're right in the heart of the community because somebody took you home.
Hmm. So when it comes to Glendora specifically, I mean, it's teeny tiny. I looked it up in the map and it's like 5 streets. And and it's so rich in history and it's rooted in trauma because of all the story behind it. And so for you to choose to share their stories, how did you manage that line of sharing the stories with dignity while still sharing that it's a deeply traumatized town?
I think again, you follow what the people are telling you and how
Mm.
they are telling it to you. So I only had to trust them. It's their story, they speak for themselves. As you can see with Columbus, for instance, or Miss Florida, these are two people who are able to talk about deeply traumatic events, and they still can do it with grace. So I have nothing to do with it.
Mm,
Their way of handling their histories and their lives in general. And for me, it's a learning life lesson, basically.
love that. So, my last question is, now that Glendora is done, do you still are you still in touch with the people? How did your relationship with them change?
Oh, yes, I'm still in touch. I miss it every day. I miss the children. I miss everybody because, post-production editing took almost a couple years between
Yeah.
and film. But we are in contact, mostly all the time. And I plan on going back because I can't wait to go back. And I would like to have a private screening there for everybody. And
That's awesome.
then collect a couple more quotes for the book. And I can't wait to be back because it's going to be a different moment where we celebrate it together. And I come back and I say, "Here, guys, here is a film about you." And I'm really
Yeah.
proud to show it to them.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for your work, for taking all this time to build this film. It's great. I think it's sad, but at the same time it's uplifting and it shares the big history that we have. Bueno, that was my entrevista con Isabelle Armand. I had to watch Glendora rewind multiple scenes because the first time I had to pause and walk away because there was a lot to process. The second time, or the other times when I rewinded the scenes and got to watch it, I'm still sitting with it. And what really struck me was when Isabel said during the interview, you follow what the people are telling you and how they are telling it to you. And it's such a simple sentence, pero it contains everything I've been trying to articulate about what it means to truly see someone. She didn't go to Glendora with a fixed narrative. She didn't decide ahead of time what the story would be. She stayed long enough, 5 years, to tell the story and to let the story reveal itself through the people living it. And here's what gets me the most. She spent 5 years and said, just follow what's going on. You're not really standing back looking in. You know, have zero distance. Zero distance. That's the opposite of how most documentaries get made, right? Most filmmakers position themselves as objective observers. But Isabel did quite the opposite. Isabel said what I think we all know to be true. There's no such thing as objectivity when you're documenting people's lives. And the only thing there is proximity. There's only relationship. There's only the willingness to be changed by what you witness. And when she talked about learning, don't dwell from the people in Glendora about how hundreds of people now inhabit her soul, about how she misses the children every day, that tells me that's what collaboration is. That's what it means to be in relationship with the stories you're telling because she wasn't extracting content. She was building familia. And I kept thinking about you, listener, about how many of us have been documented, studied, analyzed, made visible in ways that reduced us to our struggles and a resilience or whatever narrative someone else decided we should fit into, especially now in these times. And what Isabel is modeling is something different. She's showing us what it looks like when visibility is offered with dignity. When being seen doesn't mean being consumed, when your story stays yours, even when someone else is holding the camera or the microphone. The film Glendora is about a town of 151 people whose economic survival is tied to memorializing the murder of Emmett Till. Think about how complex that is for a sec. The trauma that scarred that community is now the only viable path to keeping the town alive. And Isabel didn't try to simplify that or make it comfortable for us. She just showed us people living in that impossible reality with such grace that you simply can't look away. And that's liberation work. That's what I mean when I talk about being seen in our terms. That's what sovereignty looks like in storytelling. So, if this conversation moved you in any way, I would love it if you could share it. Share it with anyone who's ever asked, whose story is this? Share it with the filmmakers, with the writers, with the storytellers who are trying to figure out how to honor people's complexity, especially now. Share with your friends who are navigating visibility and wondering if it's safe to be seen as we exist in these wild times. Of course, tag Isabelle. She's on Instagram. She's in all the places and spaces. We have links right below. And let me know what landed for you. Would love to know if you type a little comment and tell us what you think. Of course, go watch Glendora. Go see it when it comes to your city. If you can stream it, stream it. This is the kind of film that needs to be seen with other people because you will want to discuss it. You will want to talk about it and even dive deeper into there's so many times when you want to pause and be like, let me do some research about what they just said. Because this is a story that deserves your full attention. Y bueno, como siempre, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening, for choosing to grow with me. We're growing together, for being willing to sit with all of the layers of our stories, all of the layers and the complex of the stories that don't have easy answers. I don't take your ears for granted or your time. I will see you para la próxima, en nuestro próximo cafecito y como siempre, sigue brillando.
Sabrosura pa' ti que